I love Kevin Durant. I think he's a great, fantastic player. He's one of the faces of basketball. He's one of the best basketball players we've seen in a decade. When you look at the offensive game that he produces on the basketball court, there are not many guys that can mimic him or try to be like him. He's a long, lengthy player with a huge wingspan, has an amazing ability to get to the hole the way he does and shoot the three, the long ball, which he's one of the best at doing that statistically in the league. But you look at what he has done for this Brooklyn Nets team ever since he's gone there. He's done nothing. Now, he took a team all the way to the semifinals. Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks, who, by the way, wins the NBA title that year. And everybody's sitting there saying, well, when they're at full strength, when James Harden comes back and when Kyrie is back, they're going to be unstoppable. It never happened. The next year, James Harden demands a trade. He gets traded to the 76ers. The Nets bring in Ben Simmons, who never plays at all. Kyrie Irving is nothing but a talker. I think Kyrie Irving is one of the more talented players in the NBA. I don't even think there's a more talented player in the NBA than Kyrie Irving. I think he's a special player. He's a great shooter. He can go to the hole at will. He can draw fouls. He can shoot free throws. He can rebound for a guy his size. He can do everything. Problem with Kyrie is he doesn't shut up. And he doesn't get himself not in trouble off the court. If it has nothing to do with the COVID-19 situations or thinking the world is flat or whatever the hell he thinks in his head, instead of keeping the geographics to himself, he thinks that he knows best. Kyrie knows best. That should be a new TV show with him and his family because it's a joke. And with KD in the mix right now, and with Kyrie not getting the mega contract that he wanted, and it's a mega contract. He wanted a $246 million contract, which makes him the highest paid NBA player in NBA history. The Nets were not going to give him. He wanted to be traded. He told the Nets, trade me. So the Nets said, nobody wants you. Go find a trade, and we'll trade you. He winds up finding out that nobody wants him. Nobody wants to deal with his stuff on and off the court. So he opts into the $36.5 million contract. It pissed off KD. KD didn't like how the Nets were treating Kyrie. So you know what he does? He goes to management and tells them, trade me. I don't want to be here anymore. If you're not going to pay Kyrie and I'm opting into a 3-year deal and taking less money, why do I want to be here? So now the Nets are swimming around trying to figure out what they're going to do with their 2 superstars. They lost one of them because he wanted out. Now all 3 of them want out. You still have Ben Simmons there. Big whoop. Guy can't hit a free throw. Can't hit a 3-point shot. Now he's a great perimeter defender. I think he's an elite defender, but that's all he can do, and he's getting overpaid. The Nets owe him $160 million. Now you're trying to figure out, Speedy, where KD is going.
First of all, back to your reality show comments. Kyrie Irving, James Harden, Ben Simmons might be the worst reality show ever made, and the Nets might be the worst soap opera.
Kyrie knows best.
And the Nets might be the worst soap opera in the league the way this is going, because not only are these contracts hindering what the Nets could do in terms of trade, the Nets have no draft picks as it is.
They don't have a draft pick that they own fully until 2029.
And Ben Simmons' contract specifically, as many of our guests have mentioned, is something that's hindering bigger trades that has been offered as a result of KD. Suns with a sign and trade possibility for DeAndre Ayton. Nope, can't do that because Ben Simmons is on the first contract after his rookie contract, which Ayton would be if they were to pull off a sign and trade too. Same thing with the Miami Heat and Tyler Hero. So now all of a sudden you can't deal with the 2 teams that Kevin Durant actually wanted to go to, which is going to lower his trade value in essence because there's no offer as of right now that's as big as what Miami and Phoenix, 2 good player development organizations, have brought to the Brooklyn Nets. Now, the Timberwolves had a hefty one too that obviously they turned down because it's insanely unrealistic for the Nets to ask for Karl-Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards and 3 first-round picks. That was never going to happen. Towns is one of the best big men in the league. Anthony Edwards is one of the best young players. Why would he want to be traded
there if Karl-Anthony Towns is not there?
Right.
And Anthony Edwards. They have no chance of winning, even with the players that they have.
It makes no sense for them anyway. Towns is a fantastic young big man. He's stayed healthy throughout his career. Anthony Edwards is one of the best young shooters in the league. Rookie of the year. A guy that played very well in the playoffs this year for Minnesota. A team that wasn't supposed to go as deep in the playoffs as they did, hanging tough the way they did against Memphis. They're going to do that and trade 3 first-round picks when we've seen the Timberwolves just fail with that kind of experiment, bringing in veteran players. When Thibodeau came in and Jimmy Butler, they don't work well with those younger players. So stay young all at once if you're Minnesota. So there's no reason for them to take that kind of trade from the Nets. It's just very unrealistic. So then there's a couple other dark horses left. We've heard the Sixers. I don't think that's happening. Portland, we know Damian Lillard wants to play with Kevin Durant. Do they have enough pieces, though, is the question to trade? Then the Raptors are another team I've heard as a potential dark horse, with Siakam being the centerpiece of that trade. But you're not going to get as much from those teams as what you got from Phoenix, what you could have gotten from Miami, if you try to make this Ben Simmons trade work. So you're going to have to get a third team involved, but the more this goes on, the less the price is going to be.
It's going to be very interesting to see where KD is going to go. And maybe he stays with Brooklyn. He already said that he would love to be traded wherever Kyrie goes. He wants to be traded there too. It doesn't make any sense. Why don't you just stay there, play 1 year with Ben Simmons and see what you have over there in Brooklyn? But they don't want to play there. And everything that I've read is that KD does not like Sean Marks. And what does that tell you about Sean Marks and Steve Nash is it's telling you that they might not have a job at the end of this year, because Sean Marks built this team. He traded away all their prospects, all their draft stock. He has learned over the years with the San Antonio Spurs is you build around the drafting, you add a little player here and you add a little player there. When you watch the San Antonio Spurs in the time that they were dominant, they drafted Tony Parker. They drafted Manu Ginobili. They drafted Tim Duncan. They drafted Kawhi Leonard. These are all guys that they built their team and their organization around. They don't have that anymore. They did have guys like Karis LeVert and Allen and Spencer Dinwiddie, which they brought him in as a journeyman, who really transitioned the point guard position when Allah, you know who, was coaching. This isn't the same team anymore. And it has a lot to do with Kyrie and has a lot to do with KD.
And look at all the teams they want to trade with in order to get this hefty trade return for Kevin Durant. All three of those teams have done that. They've drafted and developed players well. Especially Miami, I would say, has done it the best. Pat Riley being a fantastic executive.
The Timberwolves.
The Timberwolves, too, though. Look at all the number one picks they got. They got a nice collection of young players. And the Suns, look at all the depth that they have on that team, too. Except for Ayton, really not a lot of top 5 picks. They've done it more with a lot of middle picks. They've gotten kind of unlucky outside of the Ayton.
I don't know how Minnesota could even trade first-round draft picks. They traded it all away after the trade in the offseason.
The Gobert trade.
How are they going to trade first-round draft picks? They traded away 4.
It makes no sense for Minnesota. I don't know why the Nets thought that offer was realistic by any means possible when you're getting 2 great young players as it is, and then all those other draft picks. Why would Minnesota take that kind of trade?
I don't understand why Minnesota even let them reach out to them and have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. They traded for Rudy Gobert. They believe Rudy Gobert is their quiet assassin defensively that they needed. Now you added one of the best defensive players in all of the NBA.
Right.
So you should be much better, a top 10 defense.
Yeah, and it'll allow Towns to expand his offensive game, too, because he could do more on the outside, in the mid-range, could spread the court a lot better, with Gobert just guarding the middle, being the best pure center in the league right now, defensively and in terms of rebounding, shot blocking. That'll allow Towns to be more of a 4, which I think is more of his skill set as it is. His defense is all right, but it's not like something you'd say like Gobert's, and his perimeter game is very good for a power forward of his type. So that'll allow them to make the offense even better, too. And the defense, is Gobert going to fix it all? No, but it's going to improve it from where it was last year, where I think it was 25th in the league. So that's going to make a big difference when it comes to a playoff identity.
I will say this. I don't know why KD just doesn't sit back, talk with management, bring Kyrie into the conversation, Ben Simmons, figure this out, try to do this one more year. If it doesn't work, then demand a trade. You finally have a healthy Ben Simmons. He's going to play this year. Now, I don't know what Ben Simmons is or what he's going to be with Kyrie and KD, but he might be what they've been missing. They needed that defender against the Celtics this year. They didn't have one, and that's why Jason Tatum ran all over them and shot all over them, and Jaylen Brown was dominant on the perimeter.
Heck, even Marcus Smart had 2 good offensive games against the Nets.
Maybe adding a guy like Ben Simmons for a full season and having him as their deep perimeter defender, that could help them. It doesn't make any sense on why they're demanding a trade. There must be something going on behind closed doors that nobody knows on why KD wants out. Now, the team that makes a lot of sense out of all of them is Phoenix. And the reason why is if they can keep Chris Paul there and they can keep Devin Booker there, you're talking about adding a KD, which Chris Paul has never played with a talented type of player like Kevin Durant. No. You got that superstar to play with your top-end point guard. It's going to give you an edge in the Western Conference. And then we're not going to be talking about the Golden State Warriors or even the Lakers. If the Lakers get Kyrie, we're going to be talking about the Phoenix Suns because they're much better than they were last year. Even without DeAndre Ayton, you had a KD to that lineup. What are they going to have to give up? A lot of people say that they're going to want either Devin Booker or Chris Paul, but I can't see the Phoenix Suns doing that.
I think the offer the Suns had was more than fair. Ayton, Cam Johnson, and Mikal Bridges, and 3 first-round picks. That's more than enough to get Kevin Durant, and the Nets turn that down. Good luck.
He might be a Brooklyn Net next year. I can't see them or any other team trading away their future or their superstars for KD, who's 33, going to be 34. He's an aging player that might have 2 more good years left. And that means they have to be championship years. So you need to make sure that wherever he gets traded, they're a championship competitive team. Because if they're not, you're rebuilding again after he leaves.
Not only that, you're not going to get the return value from a team like Portland or a team like a Toronto that have had interest as well.
I can't believe Toronto's even interested in.
But again, it might come to the point where that's the settling point. If
KD was 30 years old, I would trade whatever it takes to get him there. But he's not. He's 33, going to be 34 years old. He's aging. He came off an Achilles injury. He's not the same player. Now, he is a fantastic player. He was on his way to win the MVP before he had that injury in the midseason. I can't trust that this guy isn't going to break down in the next 2 years, and you're going to give away Anthony Edwards and Karl-Anthony Towns and a couple of draft picks. That's ridiculous. That's crazy. In Toronto, what they're going to have to give up?
Siakam and Van Vliet, probably.
It's ridiculous. And draft picks, where you're going to be rebuilding. How are you going to win without those guys?
Right.
With just KD there.
It's really going to be Durant and Scotty Barnes, and then hopefully a defensive system that works for them.
Why would he go there? And I can't see KD wanting to go there.
Yeah,
he's better off staying in Brooklyn.
And then Portland was the other team mentioned just because of Damian Lillard. But I don't even know if
there's no way they're getting him now with that Damian Lillard.
I don't even know if KD said he wanted to play there, though, either. Damian Lillard just expressed interest in that. And then the other one that you said was Golden State. So
speaking of contract, Damian Lillard gets worlds of money. On Friday, we hear that the Portland Trailblazers give Dame Dash, and I say Dame Dash because he dashes to the hole, 2 years, $120 million contract, which makes him the highest paid NBA player in history. $60 million a year. Dame did not have a good season last year. Wasn't 100%. There was a lot of stuff going on. And that team was fighting injury throughout the season. They traded CJ McCollum at the trade deadline. They weren't the same team. But to give Dame that kind of money, it only tells you one thing. He's there to stay. He's going to be there for the rest of his career. They want to still build the team around him and see what they can do in the next few years to try to win a championship before he's done and goes on to his rapping career. And also, Devin Booker gets a $224 million contract, which makes him one of the highest paid players in the NBA. We all heard Kendall Kardashian and him break up, and then all of a sudden the new contract comes out, and now they're hanging out again. They've been seen in so many different places. It's just so funny how these Kardashians, they work. When it comes to money and it comes to dipping and dodging, they're great at it. If they want to bob for apples, they're bobbing right now.
Cactus apples.
Speedy doesn't understand what I'm talking about, but you guys all know what I'm talking about.
That's why I bring out the geography joke.
I don't attack anybody trying to make their money. If that team is willing to give you the money, then you might as well take it. I can't attack the Portland Trailblazers for giving Dame the money that they gave him. I can't attack the Phoenix Suns for giving Devin Booker the money that he wanted. It shows me the NBA, eventually, we're going to see a $300 million player with the new CBA rules. And there's another player that got a huge contract, NBA breaking contract. You know what I'm talking about, right, Speedy?
Nikola Jokic?
Nikola Jokic, the MVP back-to-back years.
5 years, 270.
Nikola Jokic is one of the best players in the NBA, a second-round draft pick, fined by the Nuggets. He has become one of the more talented big men we've seen in this industry in such a long time. Fantastic player to watch, rebounder, assist guy, a guy that can score on all different levels. He's just a fun player, and he's a great defender as well. So Nikola Jokic gets a record-breaking contract as well, worth about $270 million. Yeah. They're seeing a lot of these NBA players making all the money that they're making and becoming very, very rich men.